Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I don't know if you've noticed, but we live in a world of rampant consumerism. We waste money every day buying things we don't really need. And we're loyal to certain brands, usually without good reason. For example, I prefer Coke over Pepsi, British Airways over Virgin, Nike over Adidas, and I honestly can't tell you why. I'm sure I could save money if I shopped around. I might even find that some products out there are better than the ones that I'm loyal to. But I wouldn't care. I can't be bothered taking the risk. I haven't the time. The car I'm in today is a prime example of that. As you all know, I'm a car guy, and I know, all things considered, the Range Rover is the best car in the world. It just is. Sure, there are cars out there which claim to do certain things better than the Range Rover. Some are faster, some are easier to park, some use less fuel. But I know overall, the full-size Range Rover is the best, so I don't need to waste any time shopping around. After all, time is the most precious resource on the planet. So I shan't waste any more of yours. Let's get on with today's review. Today's question is, should you buy a Facelift L405? L405 is the name given to this model of Range Rover, which ran from 2012 until 2022. Things were tweaked and improved firstly in 2015, then again in 2017, but its most dramatic facelift happened in 2018 for its final 4 years of production. It might look like a simple nip and tuck, but the facelift in 2018 was quite dramatic. Let's start with the styling. Up front you get a new grille, which looks more modern. It's flat and the shape is slightly changed. It makes the Range Rover look less gaudy. I like it. You get new headlights too, which is superb. The old L405 had dotted LEDs, which look like something you'd find in your grandmother's living room window at Christmas. Well, those have gone in favour of these solid LED lines. It looks much more sleek and dramatic. They do a little dance for you when you lock and unlock the car, and at night time the visibility is excellent. They have an automatic high beam feature, which I know all L405s had, but this is way better. Driving this car at night makes me wonder how I ever coped before. Moving down the sides, the vents are solely cosmetic, they don't serve a purpose anymore. The 3 gills of old have been replaced with 4. Moving to the back, it's all changed, ever so slightly. The rear lights are new, the bumper's new, the exhaust tips are different. It just looks less fussy and more complete. If you're not a Range Rover anorak, and frankly you're missing out, but if you're not a Range Rover anorak, then it would be quite difficult to tell the difference between a 2012 L405 and a 2019. But as the saying goes, the devil is in the detail, and the whole design just looks cleaner and more contemporary. As soon as you open the door on a facelift L405, you'll notice some massive differences. The seats are perhaps the biggest difference. Now, there's no polite way of saying this, but the seats in this facelifted L405 look rubbish. They're sloppy and shapeless and slovenly. The seats in the pre-facelift L405 just had more shape, more purpose. But don't be so quick to judge. Take a seat in a facelifted L405 and all is forgiven. They are the softest seats I've ever sat on. They're so soft you won't care what they look like. It's like being sat on a beanbag chair, which I suppose is kind of what they look like. I actually found the seats in the older L405 gave me a bit of a numb backside after a while. These don't. As you get comfortable in your new cloud-like seats, you'll notice the buttons to adjust the seats have moved. They're no longer on the seat base itself, they're now up here on the door card. That's all well and good because it's easy to see which part of the seat you're adjusting, but why can't I adjust the passenger seat from here like you can in a Mercedes? This being the top spec autobiography model, the seats also come with a massage function, which I know sounds like a fad, but I genuinely use them every single time I'm in the car. It's just too tempting to say no. It's like being sat on the beach in Spain and you get hounded by those girls that come up to you and say, "¿Quieres masaje?" How can you not say, "Sí, por supuesto"? The whole Range Rover driving experience is almost otherworldly. I'm sat here now at the speed limit whilst getting a massage. I've got plenty of light coming through the panoramic roof. I've got my ventilated seat on. It just doesn't get any better than this. You sit up high with unparalleled visibility in your own little luxurious cocoon. Everything's quiet and civilised. It's your reward for working hard. It's a fantastic car, this. It really spoils you to the point where once you've had one, nothing else will do. Something else that's changed on this facelift model is the technology. It's much better. The older pre-2017 models were starting to look their age. Firstly, you get an upgraded digital dash, and unlike the previous model, this one's fully customisable. It's kind of like Audi's virtual cockpit. Now, I've got zero, and I mean zero, sense of direction, much to the amusement and frustration of anyone who knows me. So the map feature on this is really handy. The main infotainment screen is dramatically improved as well. Everything's just sharper and brighter. And you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but they only work when they're plugged into the USB directly with a lead, which is a bit old-fashioned. You'd have thought they'd work via Bluetooth, wouldn't you? Well, they don't. The new reverse camera is another level, and you get a 360-degree bird's eye view camera, which makes parking this big tank next to a curb much easier. Down here you get a screen for your climate control and your terrain response system. Everyone I've spoken to before buying this car warned me that new touchscreen is too fiddly and distracting. Well, it kind of is, but only for a couple of days. Once you wrap your head around it, it's no more difficult than anything else. Although I do still kind of prefer the actual physical buttons you get in the pre-2017 models. Down here you still get 2 cup holders, but interestingly those cup holders slide out of the way, revealing a large cubby area. And that's a great idea. It's a great use of the space. There are a couple of things that I don't like about the upgrades up front. For example, I don't know why they've done this, but they've done away with this storage compartment here. There used to be a little pull-down door here which revealed a storage area, which was lined in suede. It was the perfect place to store your sunglasses. That now unfortunately is gone, which means there's nowhere to store your sunglasses. Good job I live in Manchester then, isn't it? I don't know why they couldn't have put some storage up here, or just left those. They weren't eating anything. Something else that's annoying, they've replaced the conventional buttons on the steering wheel with these glass screens, which not only get smothered in dirty fingerprints, they're also not 100% responsive. A lot of the time I find myself trying to adjust the volume, and it just doesn't work. I think that's a classic case of upgrading for upgrading's sake. There's nothing really wrong with the old buttons. In the back of the Facelift L405, they've taken what was an already very pleasant experience and stepped it up another gear. It's now almost like being in a limousine. You can recline the rear seats and bring out the base just to make it more comfortable. The centre armrest slides up and down electronically, like the new L460. And at the touch of a button, it reveals 2 cup holders and some more USB points. It makes you feel like you're on a private jet. You can also control either side window from either side, or both at once. You can mute the music. The rear doors also have a blind spot warning so you don't take out any cyclists. Pity. Everything's just better, even the key, which now feels sturdy and robust. Land Rover keys of old were always flimsy and fell to pieces, but this actually feels a bit like a Nokia 3210. It feels like you could almost run it over and it'd still remain intact. It's also keyless, so if you keep the key in your pocket, as you walk up to the car, it will unlock for you. One piece of advice though, with car theft on the rise, you really need to invest in one of these theft block key boxes. If you keep your keys in one of these theft block boxes or pouches, it stops the signal being transmitted from your key, which means car thieves can't access that signal and steal your car. If you keep your car keys next to your bed or on your hallway table, car thieves can access that signal without breaking into your house. It's frightening. More often than not, they'll drive away in your car without you even realising, without as much as a smashed window. Car theft is an epidemic at the moment. It's rife, especially, it seems, with Land Rovers and Mercedes. I use one of these theft block boxes now religiously. I've just got into the habit of, as soon as I walk through the front door, put my keys in that box, and I know my car's safe. I've got some for my friends and family too, and they swear by them. I've done a deal with Theft Block, who are a local independent company, so if you click the link below, which I'll leave in the video description, you'll get 10% off your order. They're nicely finished, they're available in multiple colours, and you can also have your car brand logo printed on the box. So check them out, it's definitely worth having. Something else that's changed on the L405 are the engines. You can still buy it with the 5-litre supercharged V8, or the 3-litre petrol V6, or the diesel V6, or the 4.4-litre SD V8. But you can also buy it as a hybrid, that's the P400e model. That uses a 2-litre petrol 4-cylinder engine, along with some AA's, so you can travel for several miles on electricity alone. When buying mine, I opted for the big 5-litre petrol V8. This model is known as the P525. The 525 denotes horsepower, which means, although this is a big Leviathan, it is fast. Properly fast. 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds fast. That is one quick, seriously quick car. And that's more or less the same 0 to 60 time as the E46 M3 in a car that weighs 2.5 tons. It's unbelievable. I have to say I was slightly disappointed with the engine noise on this. I was expecting it to be louder, a bit more V80. I didn't want it to sound like a big snarling, obnoxious Range Rover Sport SVR, but I did expect it to be a little bit louder. This is quite muted. I've since realised, however, this is just part of the experience. It's almost Bentley-esque. They've purposely made this car quiet and refined. It's sophisticated. Compared to the old 4.4-litre turbo diesel V8, you can't even hear this car's on. I've heard louder milk floats. With the stereo off, you do get the annoying whine from the supercharger, but it's not too intrusive. You're probably wondering what's the cost of all this luxury and imperiousness. Well, the only thing it requires is just a little bit more fuel. That's it. This isn't as thirsty as you might imagine. It does around 90 miles per gallon around town and 27 or 28 on a motorway run. Granted, that's nothing to brag about, but I have the comfort of knowing that I don't have to buy any AdBlue, I don't have any turbos to worry about, I don't have a DPF that can clog, and petrol's cheaper at the pumps than diesel. I'm like Martin Lewis, the money-saving expert. Joking apart, all things considered, over the year or over a 3 or 5 year ownership period, I can't see this being much more expensive than a diesel. Genuinely. I reset the trip before we started filming today, and I've averaged 25.8 miles per gallon. That's been a mixture of round town driving, dual carriageway driving, countryside B roads. It's not too bad, is it? Here in the UK, the cost of a Facelift L405 is around 60 grand. That'll get you a 6-cylinder Vogue or Vogue SE. You can add 10 or 15,000 pounds onto that price if you want a V8 autobiography. Before I bought this, I thought, is it stupid to spend 80,000 pounds on a car that's now no longer the current generation? Of course, it is. It is stupid. Makes no sense at all. But when you consider the new model, the L460, like for like, a V8 petrol autobiography, that'll set you back around 160,000 pounds. Twice the price of this. All of a sudden, this looks like, I'm not going to say good value, better value. I also think this car does everything as well as I could possibly need. So what would I replace it with in the future? For me, this is peak Range Rover. High peak Range Rover, if you will. Of course, the naysayers will talk about reliability and how the Land Cruiser is the best thing ever, but I'm a firm believer in doing all the preventative maintenance, looking after it, treating it with respect, and it will serve me well. Touch wood. I firmly, hand on heart, believe this won't be any less reliable than any of its competitors. Before I bought this, I briefly flirted with the idea of an SQ7 or a Cayenne Turbo. They're not going to be any more reliable than this. People always seem to say, buy a Land Cruiser. Why? That does one thing better than the Range Rover. One thing, that's it. You could buy something like an S-Class Mercedes or an Audi A8. That might do luxury a little bit better. You could buy a G-Wagon or a Bentayga or a Lamborghini Urus. But in reality, they're all one-trick ponies. The Range Rover is the best all-rounder. It's the best at everything else. To answer the question I posed at the start, should you buy a Facelift L405? The answer is a resounding yes. Absolutely. I did, and I've got zero regrets. I understand that nobody really needs a car like this. Nobody really needs a 5-litre supercharged 2.5-tonne four-wheel drive car. But we're all on this hamster wheel of life, so we may as well try and enjoy it. And there is no place better to enjoy it than behind the wheel of a Range Rover. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below. I'll do my best to get back to you. Make sure you check out Theft Block so your car doesn't get stolen. I'll leave the link below in the video description. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.